I hadn't thought about Leary in nearly 2 decades. Not since the sandstorm on the Rose 7 swallowed half my squad and left me clinging to a broken cargo pod with her tiny blue hand in mine. Back then, I was Ryan Drake, just another mercenary chasing credits among the fringe worlds. But the moment I cracked open that cryopod and revealed a 10-year-old girl, violet-eyed and shaking with terror, something changed in me. I saw fear, yes, but beneath it, a steely intelligence that no human child possessed. The mission was simple: salvage a derelict freighter rumored to carry illicit alien tech. What I found was far more precious. The freighter's hold was a graveyard of frozen bodies, all sharing her cerulean skin. But Leary, she was alive. Her whisper, "Drake," cut through the dim lights. I didn't believe her name at first, but when she repeated it, I decided right then she was worth more than any bounty. So I took her off that ship, slipped past Dominion patrols, and delivered her to a small family on Kala, a backwater colony. They agreed to hide her, raise her as one of their own. I walked away, my conscience both lighter and heavier than before. Years blurred by. I traded muscle for chrome, cybernetic limbs, ocular implants, reflex boosters, until I was more machine than man. I'd grown used to the solitude, the scars, the endless pull of the next job. But Daedalus Station's gravity dive bars still smelled like regret. Tonight, I nursed a glass of synth whiskey in the corner booth, trying to ignore the hum of neon and the stares of drifters nursing worse hangovers than mine. Then she walked in. I almost dropped my glass. Tall, too tall for the girl I remembered, armored in matte black tactical gear, her blue skin gleaming like forged steel under the flicker of hollow ats. A braid fell over one shoulder, the other side of her head was shaved clean. Scar tissue traced a jagged line down her left cheek, my handiwork from a medbay years ago. Violet eyes locked onto mine, cold and unreadable. "Ryan Drake," she said, voice flat. For a moment, I didn't speak. Memory slammed into me. Her whisper in the pod, her shivering form, the child I thought I'd saved. "Leary," I managed. She nodded once and motioned for me to stand. Two armed figures emerged from the shadows, lean, silent, clearly loyal. They flanked us as she led me out of the bar and into the station's maintenance shafts. "You owe me," she said without greeting. I followed, heart pounding. "What are you?" "No explanations," she cut in. "You saved me once. Now you'll help me finish this." We boarded a sleek gunship docked far from the trade lanes. Inside, the cabin reeked of oil and purpose. As we slipped into hyperspace, she filled in the blanks. Kala wasn't a refuge. It was a Dominion breeding ground, front for genetic experimentation. When I delivered her, they broke her mind, repurposed her as an assassin. She escaped 5 years ago, built a resistance of modified survivors, and now led a crusade to destroy every Dominion lab. I closed my eyes. Guilt roared in my chest. I didn't know. "Didn't care to check," she replied, tone bitter. "But now you will." The hyperdrive shuddered as we dropped out of slip space. Below us, the barren moon Talaran 3 waited, a perfect hiding spot for a Dominion facility. She handed me a data pad. "Their prime vault is here. Security layout, code overrides, things you'd understand better than anyone. Infiltrate with me." Silence stretched. I traced my fingers over the pad. Familiar adrenaline flooded me. "All right." Her lips twitched, almost a ghost of a smile. "Welcome back, Drake." As we hurtled toward the moon, past the planet's pale surface, I realized this mission wasn't just about atonement. It was about one more chance to change the fate of an entire people. And Leary, she was the reason I'd ever left my lonely path behind. The gunship's engines hummed low as Leary guided us toward Daedalus Station's shadowed docking bay. I hadn't set foot on that rusting leviathan in years. The station orbited a dying gas giant, its bulk a maze of decaying modules and black market outposts. Whispers of Dominion experiments swirled through every corridor, rumors of abducted children, mind-altered soldiers, bleeding-edge weapons. It was the perfect place to disappear or to strike from the shadows. Leary didn't speak until we slipped through customs under forged item codes. Her violet eyes scanned every face, every hover crate. "They'll be watching for me," she murmured. "And for you." I nodded, clutching my cybernetic arm. Decades of upgrades had made me faster, stronger, but also marked me as a veteran merc. Dominion patrols ran background checks on every arrival. A ghost like me was impossible to hide forever. Our contact awaited in the station's underlevels. Mila Oren, a genius hacker whose fingertips danced code like music. She'd once breached Dominion vaults for fun, until they tracked her scent and nearly killed her. Now she wore a chipped neural implant, a failsafe against mind-scrambling traps. We found her hunched over a tangle of wires in a cluttered workshop, lit by the glow of dozens of holoscreens. "Ryan, Drake, and Leary," she greeted without looking up, voice dry. "I've got your schematics." She tapped a holoproj, detailed blueprints of the Teleran 3 lab, security nodes, pressure plate corridors. "This is everything. Dominion's new protocols, patrol schedules, power grid cycles. Their blind spots are tiny, but they're there." Leary leaned close, tracing a corridor leading to the Prime Vault's sublevel. "This is where they keep the Vault's control matrix. If we can disable it, we buy ourselves maybe 30 seconds before the lockdown seals us in." The plan required more muscle, someone who knew Dominion tactics inside out. Enter Jorvan Kale, ex-Dominion sergeant turned mercenary. His cyber-optic eye glowed red beneath a rifle scar across his forehead. We found him in the station's shooting gallery, unloading rounds into an old combat drone. His aim was impeccable. "They told me you want to drop in on Dominion's weekend party," he said, shouldering his plasma carbine. "I've got 8 years of Black Ops intel. But this is suicide, Drake." I grinned, tapping my chest. "You first taught me never to believe in safe missions." He smirked and loaded a fresh magazine. "Fine. But I walk in, I walk out. No heroics." With our trio assembled, Leary laid out the final details. We'd split into 2 teams. Jorvan and I would breach the power node, disable generators, and override patrol bots. Mila and Leary would slip into the vault's core and plan an EMP charge on the Matrix console. Synchronized hacking and sabotage. The next hours blurred in preparation. I scavenged salvaged armor plates from a scrap dealer, reforging them into lightweight vests. Jorvan tuned my reflex boosters for low-gravity combat. Mila rewrote our transponder signatures to ghost us during the incursion. All the while, Leary remained silent, absorbed in memories I couldn't share, the screams echoing in her mind when Dominion corruptors tore through Kala's farms. When the hour arrived, we boarded a battered shuttle disguised as a maintenance transport. Its hull was patched with mismatched panels, the engine sputtering like a sick beast. We slipped through a cargo hatch, cloaked by forged manifest logs that Mesa Corp had helped us fake. The shuttle docked directly to Sector Delta 7, the Dominion's least guarded maintenance wing. Stepping into the cold corridor, I felt the station's pulse, a low thrum of ventilation, the click of mech joints. Jorvan jammed a portable disruptor into the doorway's comm panel. The panel sparked and died. 5 minutes before they call this a system error, he whispered. We moved in. The hall ahead branched into 3 tunnels. I glanced at Leary. Her eyes flickered with doubt. "Trust me," I said. "We'll find them." She nodded, fingers curling around her sidearm. We slipped into the darkness. Halfway to the power node, sirens wailed, a distant alarm. Amber strobes flooded the corridor. They found the override. Mila's voice crackled in my implant. "They're sealing off all non-essential sectors." Leary's grip tightened. "Time to improvise." We broke through a maintenance hatch into the station's conduits, a narrow network of catwalks above the reactor tubes. Steam hissed below, and every step vibrated the metal beneath our boots. Jorvan led the way, guiding us around locked bulkheads. At the end of the run, a heavy blast door marked entrance to the power node. Ronin-grade locks, nothing a high-density charge couldn't handle. Jorvan placed the charge, and we sprinted back to cover as it detonated with a thunderous echo. The blast reverberated through the conduits, cutting power to half the sector. Lights flickered, then died, leaving us under emergency red strobes. Down below, patrol bots rebooted chaotically. Without primary power, their NAV map scrambled. 2 guard drones stumbled into the breach, guns spinning aimlessly. I leveled my rifle and pulled the trigger. Plasma bolts lit up the corridor. Jorvin flanked them, finishing each with a shoulder charge that sent sparks flying. Notes down. I murmured into my comm, "Go dark." Mila's voice floated from farther down the hall. "We're in the vault tunnel." Leary's reply was a breath. "See you at the console." I motioned to Jorvin. "Let's buy them time." We wedged ourselves into a narrow alcove overlooking the tunnel. As Leary and Mila advanced, Dominion troopers flooded the opposite hatch, weapons raised. We held our fire, waiting until the last possible second. Then the tunnel entrance exploded inward as Leary's team retreated, EMP canister trailing wires. Plasma arcs danced across the metal as the charge detonated, frying security cams and comnets. Leary sprinted past, eyes blazing, the weight of her past, and our future driving every step. We regrouped in a hidden alcove, hearts pounding. Our armor was scorched, uniforms torn, but the station's power lay in blackout. "Nice work," I panted. Jorvin gave a curt nod. Mila's fingers tapped on her wrist pad, reactivating our transponders with new signatures. "We've got 8 minutes before backup arrives." Leary's gaze met mine. She'd changed from the frightened child I rescued. She was now a weapon tempered by betrayal. "This is just the beginning," she said. As we sprinted toward the shuttle, alarms echoed across Daedalus Station. Dominion troopers would swarm the corridors any second. But for the first time in years, I felt alive, fighting alongside the girl who'd grown into a woman as strong as any empire. Our fight was no longer personal. It was the spark of a rebellion that would raise Dominion's labs. And Daedalus Station, with its rusted bones and hidden secrets, would remember the day when whispers turned into roars. The blast door shuttered shut behind us, seals hissing as latches snapped into place. Beyond lay the heart of Dominion's Telleran 3 research complex, a hollowed-out mountain pulsing with sterile white light and the hum of unseen machinery. Corridors branched like arteries, each leading to chambers designed for cruelty. The air tasted of antiseptic and fear, as if the walls themselves had absorbed the screams of 1,000 victims. Mila's holomap flickered on my wristpad. "Vault is 2 decks down. Path clear until the central atrium," she whispered, fingers dancing over virtual controls. Jorvin crouched beside me, rifle at ready. His cyber optic eye glowed in the gloom. "We move 2 by 2, he said. "Liaise only on comms. Radio silence otherwise. These halls are full of audio sensors." Leary nodded, adjusting the EMP charge strapped to her belt. "We split here," she pointed. "You and Jorvin take the maintenance shaft to the sublevel. Mila and I will go through the lab corridor and meet you at the atrium." Her voice was calm, practiced, every word measured. As Jorvin and I slipped into the grated shaft, Leary and Mila vanished around the corner. The shaft was narrow, slick with condensation. Pipes snaked overhead, occasional sparks crackling where exposed wiring frayed. Our footsteps echoed and died. 10 minutes later, we climbed through a vent into a dimly lit service tunnel. A single luminescent panel flickered above a heavy steel door marked genetic staging. I pressed my shoulder into the door's seam. It creaked open to reveal a vast chamber. Rows of cryogenic pods lined the walls, each connected by tubes pumping fluid and monitors tracking vital signs. Inside the pods floated children, maybe a dozen at first glance. But as our eyes adjusted, the pods stretched farther than we'd realized, hundreds in total. Blue-skinned, green-scaled, violet-eyed, and feathered. Every conceivable mutation of alien, and some human, subjected to Dominion's twisted experiments. My chest tightened. Jorvin raised a gloved hand. "They're conditioning them. Look at the neural clamps on their skulls." I crouched beside a pod and scanned the readout. Stasis 97%. Neural programming 82%. Estimated. "They'll awaken as weapons." The thought made bile rise in my throat. We needed proof. Dominion would evacuate or destroy the evidence the moment they discovered intruders. I rummaged in my belt for a data extractor. We'll copy every log, every genetic profile. Jorvin deployed a small orb-shaped drone that hovered forward, its sensors glowing as it mapped the chamber. We fed data through the extractor as flashes of panic stirred in the pods, tiny movements, feeble kicks against the stasis fluid. Then footsteps pounded in the corridor outside. The door's panel sparked red. "Intruder alert," a cold voice intoned. We ducked behind a support column as blast doors slammed shut across the tunnel. Overhead, the hum of servos sounded. Mechanical guards, towering half-mechanical drones armed with particle rifles, trudged into the chamber, scanning for heat signatures. I tapped Jorvin's leg. "Time's up." He nodded and set the drone to self-destruct. On my signal, it detonated with a muffled boom, sending shards of metal flying and jolting the guards off balance. We opened fire, plasma bolts dancing through the smoke. The guards fell, circuits fizzing as their power cores overloaded. As the last drone collapsed, Leary's voice crackled in my ear. "Atrial access compromised. Dominion's Warden Serac is en route. He's bringing a full squad." My heart sank. Serac was notorious for his ruthlessness, half genetic construct, half cybernetic brute. We had maybe 2 minutes before he arrived. "Meet us at Point Echo," I replied. Jorvin grabbed the filled data extractor and clamped it in his pack. "That was the proof," he said. "Let's move." We sprinted down a parallel corridor, flashing past labs with broken glass and stained floors. The station seemed to pulse with anger, as if offended by our intrusion. We reached a stairwell and descended 2 flights to the atrium level, an immense circular hall lit by a shaft of pale sunlight beamed through the mountain above. Steel catwalks crisscrossed the open space, leading to the prime vault door at its center. Leary and Mila were already there, crouched beside the control console. Mila tapped frantically at her wristpad, uploading the data to every known resistance network. "Done," she murmured. "Evidence is live across 50 comm streams." As she spoke, the vault door rumbled and began to open, revealing a dark recess lined with server racks. But the sound of heavy footsteps echoed from above. Serac's squad spilled onto the catwalk. 8 augmented soldiers, their armor etched with Dominion sigils. Behind them strode Warden Serac himself, his right arm replaced by a geological drill gun, his left eye a ruby lens. "Drake," Serac's voice boomed. "Did you really think you could sneak into my lab?" His gaze flicked to Leary. "And you, my prized subject. You owe your life to me." Leary's stance stiffened. Memories flickered in her eyes like broken holofilms. "Not anymore," she spat. Serac grinned, a mechanical twitch of metal and flesh. "You joined the resistance?" "Pathetic." I raised my rifle. "Back off." Serac's drill gun whirred to life. "Or what?" he thundered. "Are we in this right now?" I fired, energy bolts scattering sparks across the catwalk. Jorvin and Leary flanked me, plasma and bullets weaving a deadly dance. Mila slipped behind the vault console, readying an EMP pulse calculated to collapse every system in the chamber. The battle ignited. Serac's troops charged, swinging electrobatons and firing AR rounds. Jorvin intercepted the first wave, his cyber-optic eye guiding every strike. Leary dove to Serac's flank, blades flashing as she severed mechanized limbs. I kept my sights trained on the Warden. "EMP in 10 seconds, Mila shouted. Serac barreled toward me, drill gun swinging like an axe. I sidestepped and fired at his legs, melting the plating. He staggered, blood and coolant oozing where metal met flesh. Leary lunged, blade cleaving through cybernetic servos. Serac roared, swinging the drill gun overhead. I dove aside as the weapon gouged a chunk out of the vault door frame. "Now," I yelled. Mila slammed her hand onto the console. Lights flickered, system stuttered. The vault doors slammed shut, and a shockwave of static rippled through the chamber. Serac's squad collapsed as their power cores fried. Serac himself convulsed, sparks streaming from his joints. With a final crack, the Warden fell, drill gun clattering to the floor. Silence crashed over the atrium like a tidal wave. We stood amid the wreckage, chest heaving, weapons smoking. Jorvin retrieved the data extractor and shrugged. We got what we came for. Leary touched my arm, eyes wet with relief and something else, hope. This is just the beginning, she whispered. We saved them all. As alarms blared and backup forces closed in, we retreated through a maintenance hatch, hearts pounding. Behind us, Dominion's fortress lay crippled, its darkest secret laid bare. But the children in those pods needed a full rescue, and that would mean storming every one of Dominion's hellscapes. And so our mission continued, across moons, inside star fortresses, wherever Dominion's cruelty thrived. We carried the evidence of their sin, and with it, the power to ignite rebellion across the stars. The lab of broken hope had become the spark of a revolution, one that would not be extinguished until every captive was free. We slipped through the mountain's hidden vent and onto the cold surface of Teleran 3 under a sky smeared with pale gaslight. Behind us, the Dominion lab smoldered, a faint glow dancing on the horizon where emergency fires licked the mountainside. None of us spoke as we climbed into the battered shuttle. Exhaustion weighed heavy in every movement. The pilot, a taciturn ex-smuggler named Kasara, guided the ship away from the blast zone without question. Turbulence rattled the cabin as we punched through the atmosphere into the inky void. Only when the lab receded to a dim spark below did Leary rise from her seat. She moved as though each step cost her something precious. Where to? Kasara asked, voice brittle. Leary stared out the viewport, her violet eyes reflecting distant stars. Finally, she whispered, Aliera. The moon outpost lay hidden in the system's second planet's shadow, a drab cluster of habitats surrounded by mining rigs. Aliera had once been neutral territory, but now it pulsed with rebellion. Freed prisoners, resistance cells, and the occasional Dominion deserter seeking absolution. We touched down on a rusting landing pad, greeted by the hum of wind turbines and the murmur of huddled survivors. Among them were faces we'd freed from pods, blue-skinned children blinking at daylight, green-scaled teenagers clutching alien toys, and humans whose eyes shimmered with hope. As Kasura guided the ship in, a cheer rose that faltered when Leary stepped onto the cracked tarmac. Her shoulders were rigid, spine straight as a blade. She moved through the crowd in silence, acknowledging neither their gratitude nor their tears. Children reached out, but she only let her hand hover above their heads, an unspoken promise without warmth. I fell into step beside her, heart pounding. You did it, I said softly. Leary didn't look at me. Her voice was flat when she replied, We did it. The words felt hollow, as though spoken behind layers of ice. We followed her to the main command dome, a geodesic structure patched with salvage panels. Inside, a holographic map flickered overhead, showing Dominion strongholds across the system. Resistance leaders clustered around tables loaded with datapads and improvised rifles. Leary strode to the center, and the room fell silent. Report, she commanded. A wiry tactician named Hasm stepped forward. His skin bore scorch marks from the lab breakout. We've evacuated 93 children and 56 adults. Medical teams are treating neural shock and reconditioning trauma. Supplies will hold for 2 weeks. He met Leary's gaze. Next target, the vault on Abalon Prime. Leary nodded once, then pivoted away and slipped through a back door. I hesitated, then followed. Outside, a windstorm whipped frozen grit across the landing pad. The air throbbed with the distant thunder of Dominion patrol ships scanning for us. I found her leaning against a generator pod, eyes closed, chin dipped. Her braided hair swayed in the gust. I settled beside her, silence stretching until she spoke. I should have known, she said. When you left me on Kala, I should have died. I pressed my palm against my chest, feeling the steady pulse of my augments. I thought it was safe. I was wrong. She shook her head, voice brittle. They found me months later. Dominion scientists, they used me. A tremor passed through her. I was weaponized. Every memory overwritten, every fear calibrated. I hurt people. Her eyes flicked open, but they were void of light. And then I found the resistance. They helped me remember. She swallowed. You were the reason I fought to live. But how do I trust that again? I opened my mouth, but words failed. Instead, I reached into my jacket and produced a small hollow projector. A soft click, and light bloomed between us. Images of a 10-year-old girl, clad in cerulean fabric, clutching my hand. Leary's younger face stared back, eyes wide with terror and trust. "You saved me once," I whispered. "I never stopped looking for you. Every job, every credit, it was always for one day to make things right." Leary's breath caught. The projector blinked out. For a long moment, she was motionless. Then she placed her hand over mine. "Show me," she said. I guided her into the dome's med ward, where effectopods hummed with soft green light. Inside each pod, a freed survivor lay resting. Metal lines traced their temples, devices placed by Dominion to snuff hope. Medical techs rushed to stabilize them, splicing alien medgel with human pain suppressors. As we watched, Leary's posture softened. She crouched beside a slender girl with turquoise scales and reached through the pod's clear wall, fingertips brushing the girl's cheek. "I thought they took everything from me," Leary murmured, voice quivering. "But they missed this." She pointed at her own heart. "They didn't break me here." A medic glanced at us. "We'll need more neuro-uplink serum. I'm sending a request to Jorvan's network." Jorvan was already in the command chamber, coordinating evac routes. He strode in then, eyes narrowing when he saw Leary. "How are you holding up?" he asked, voice rough. "I'm alive," she said simply. Jorvan nodded. "Good." He tapped a holopad. "We've got comms with the other cells. Watchtowers report Dominion convoys heading our way. They know we hit prime vaults." Leary rose, face hardening. "Let them come." She turned to me. "I'm ready for the next strike." I squared my shoulders. "What's the plan?" She laid out a new map. Dominion's genetic archive hidden on Abalon Prime, a fortress world orbiting a dying star. The archive held every sample of alien DNA they'd harvested, the key to a future army of genetically modified soldiers. Leary's eyes burned with purpose as she traced the route. "We hit at dusk," she said. "When patrols shift, Mila and Kasara will scramble their sensors. Jorvan, you and I disable planetary shields. Ryan, you lead the breach." I swallowed, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline. "Let's end this then." Leary's gaze flickered with something like gratitude. "I trust you." She paused, then added, almost to herself, "Thank you." The words were soft, a fragile bridge between the woman she'd become and the child I'd saved. Beyond the dome's reinforced windows, Aliera's turbines groaned in the storm. In that moment, all debts felt paid, and a new chapter began, one where we fought not for revenge alone, but for a future reclaimed from Dominion's ashes. We slipped through the low-orbit shuttle bay, alighting on the scorched plains of Abalon Prime as twin suns dipped below the horizon. The air was acrid with ash, fallout from the orbital bombardments we'd launched to distract Dominion forces. The planet's shield generators hummed behind a ring of jagged towers, casting long, orange shadows across the rusted metal ruins we'd chosen for our landing zone. Kasara piloted the gunship to a hidden cavern beside a collapsed command outpost. The walls were scored with scorch marks and bullet holes, trophies of previous skirmishes. We disembarked quickly. Jorvan hefted his plasma mortar, Mila carried a jamming pod, and Leary cradled the EMP charge wired to her belt. I checked my rifle's power cell, fully charged. Every heartbeat drummed with anticipation. "We've got 15 minutes before patrol drones sweep this quadrant," Kasara warned, voice tense. "We'll make it," Leary replied, voice flat. She lifted her head toward the nearest shield tower, its generators thrumming like a living beast. Steel girders arched overhead, cables snaking down to a central node. That node was our target, to collapse the planetary shield for exactly 2 minutes, giving our main forces time to land. We moved in formation across open ground, using wrecked vehicles for cover. Jorvan led, mortar ready. Behind him, I scanned the perimeter with my ocular implant. Sudden movements flickered on my HUD. Dominion scouts circling on hoverbikes. I raised a hand. 5 o'clock, I whispered. Jorvan spun, blasting the lead scout's bike with a plasma round. The rider tumbled, bike exploding in a gout of flame. The other scouts veered off, but not before relaying our presence. Soon, twin spotlights flickered to life along the tower's edge. "We're in the open," Mila hissed, crouching behind a cratered hull. She tapped her jamming pod, and the spotlights faltered, their lenses flickering. 2 minutes of darkness. "Move," Leary ordered. We sprinted toward the tower's base under the cover of electronic noise. Turbine drones descended from the sky, their rotor blades slicing the air. They fired ion bolts that lit up the battlefield in gaudy green flashes. Jorvin lobbed his mortar, arcs of plasma tearing through the drone's rotors. Each explosion rained debris, forcing the rest to retreat momentarily. "Now," Leary cried. She planted the EMP charge at the tower's power conduit, her fingers working with mechanical precision. I covered her flank, firing bursts at approaching guards. The air filled with the stench of ozone and scorched wiring. "Stand back," Leary said as the charge beeped its final countdown. We hugged the tower's foundation. 3, 2, 1. A silent pulse rippled through the ground, then the generators emitted a high-pitched scream before collapsing into silence. The dome of energy that once blanketed the planet flickered and dissolved, leaving the sky black and vulnerable. "Shields down," Jorvin announced, voice triumphant. Behind us, distant thunder boomed as our fleet emerged from the planet's shadow. Transports glowed like fireflies against the dark sky, descending toward the now unprotected surface. Cheers erupted among the troops gathering at the crash site. "Let's move before they reboot the shields," Leary urged. We exfiltrated through a network of tunnels beneath the tower, reaching an underground tram station scraped from the planet's mining days. The tram, rusted but functional, awaited. Kassara fired up the engine, and we clambered aboard as Dominion alarms began echoing through the complex. "Next stop, the archives," Leary said, voice cool. She tapped a hollow pad showing a map of the subterranean facility. "It's 2 levels down, beneath the old research wing." The tram rattled along broken tracks, plunging us into darkness before flickering lights revealed a yawning chamber lined with access doors. Each door bore a Dominion insignia and a keypad requiring genetic authentication. We'd need to hack the master console in the central office to override them. "I'll handle the doors," Mila offered, fingers twitching over her wristpad. "You two cover me." As we crept through the corridor, spotlights swept the walls. Robotic sentries rolled into view, their optical sensors glowing malevolent red. Jorvin and I unleashed suppressive fire, ripping panels off the walls, while Leary darted forward to drive her blade through a sentry's joint, sparks dancing across the floor. Mila slipped between us, connecting her data cable to the first locked door. Within seconds, the lock snarled open. 3 down, 4 to go, she said. We advanced in tight formation. The archive doors loomed ahead, each passage sealed. At the center of the vault wing stood a reinforced security console. Wires snaked from it to every door. The room pulsed with energy and the soft hum of dormant servers. "This is it," Leary said, setting down another EMP charge. "Once I trigger this, all doors open, but the security grid will fry everything in the chamber. We have 30 seconds to extract the archive data." "We'll buy you time," I replied. Leary tapped the console. Lights flared red, and a chilling alarm began its mournful wail. Steel doors across the wing clanged open. Arcing electricity danced along the overhead conduits, threatening to ignite at any moment. "Go," Leary ordered, sprinting toward the archive racks. I covered her path, firing at surveillance drones descending from ceiling hatches. Each bolt tore wiring from the walls, showers of sparks raining down. Jorvin tossed a fragmentation grenade that detonated with a concussive blast, sending debris flying. Mila and Leary worked side by side, ripping data cores from server banks, stuffing them into her pack. 3 cores, Mila announced. Subspace encryption cracked. "We're good." The floor trembled as power conduits overloaded. Leary glanced at me. "Time." We sprinted back toward the tram tunnel as the entire wing erupted in blue-white fire. Panels peeled away, and a sonic shockwave hurled us forward. The tram's emergency doors sealed behind us as we dove inside. Kassara slammed the accelerator, and we rocketed through the tunnel as the archive exploded behind us, lighting the passage in searing brilliance. We emerged into the open caverns beside the shuttle bay. Transports descended in swarms, carrying resistance fighters and freed survivors. Cheers broke out as our shuttle lifted off, engines blazing. Below, the Dominion fortress lay in ruin, its shield towers toppled, archive complexes destroyed, or ours now for the rebellion. Inside the shuttle, Leary collapsed against the bulkhead, chest heaving. Her eyes glowed with fierce relief. I knelt beside her, pressing a hand to her shoulder. "You did it," I breathed. "We did it," she replied, voice trembling. "We saved them, and we've struck at Dominion's heart." Jolted by turbulence as we entered orbit, I looked out the viewport at the fires burning below. The rebellion had a foothold on Abalon Prime, and with this victory, Dominion's genetic stranglehold had been shattered. Leary's gaze met mine. "What now?" I squeezed her hand. "We take this victory to every world they control. We light the flames of freedom across the stars." Her lips curved in a ghost of a smile. "Let them remember the day the blue-skinned girl returned, not for thanks, but for vengeance." As the shuttle streaked into the black, the distant glow of uprising spread across Abalon Prime like wildfire, a promise that Dominion's empire would burn until every captive soul was free.